The scariest thing that you could have happen to you is your insurance lapse and you don't know about it. And then they turn around and you get in an accident. That's probably the worst thing, because now you are completely responsible for that entire accident. You're 100% out of pocket. That could cost you everything. If you want to know how to avoid this or prevent this in the future, watch this video. It's going to be less than 9 minutes. Let's go. There's a lot of reasons that insurance lapse. The most common reason is you have a credit card on file and the card expires. You don't make that payment, you never receive that letter or never notice that letter, so you don't get the information on time. If you're on like a paperless statement, typically they'll send you an email, and if you don't read the email or it goes into spam, it just never gets to you. Other ways is you just can't pay for it. You miss the payment and now you're 2 payments behind and you just don't know what to do. There's a few things you got to do. The biggest thing is you got to go head on with it. If you ever go to the dmv.org, they're going to tell you the exact same thing I'm telling you right now. You're going to have fees in that situation. If you do, the best way is to just go right at it, try to get the fees taken care of, even if you have to do it on a credit card, because it can hurt you longer down the road. The longer you go with that, the more fees, the more penalties, the more tickets you're going to get, and the worse it's going to be for you. The most common reason I see insurance lapse is because the credit card that you put on file, if you're on an auto pay, it expired, and you never called the insurance company to tell them that you had a different expiration date. That's a huge, huge thing in insurance. That's why it's always smart to put a checking account or routing an account number on file, because that will never expire. If you trust the company that you're with, you know that they're going to take care of you. If the rate goes up, they're going to send you a notification. So keep an eye on that. When it gets close to renewal time, every 6 months or every year, depending on how long your insurance is, they'll send you about 3 weeks to 4 weeks in advance an updated copy. Here's any changes that have happened. Oh, the rate went up or the rate went down. It usually goes up, but the rate went up $50 every month, so it's every 6 months. So it's going to cost you $9 or whatever that extra cost is a month. There's a lot of penalties. I mean, in Florida, certain states, they'll revoke your license because the insurance company is tied to the DMV. They communicate. Okay, so when you don't have insurance, they're going to say, doo-doo, he doesn't have insurance, and they're going to say, oh, send a letter out. Or notify this customer. They've got 30 days to get insurance, otherwise we're revoking their license. One of the worst phone calls that I do get is somebody that didn't realize their insurance had lapsed. They didn't notice the notification in the mail that they had 30 days to get their insurance back, and then they get pulled over. They lost their license right then and there, or they find out that their license is already revoked. Most police officers that I've talked to are pretty lenient in that situation. If you're not a typical person who has normal tickets or other suspensions and things like that, they're typically going to give you a warning, but they don't have to. Some of them might give you a driving without insurance, and that is a major violation with insurance. So your rate just keeps climbing every time you get these tickets. You got a no insurance, a lapse. So now you're a high risk or higher risk because you haven't made the payment. You also got a driving while suspended, and you have a license suspension, and if you get your license back, you have a license reinstatement. You've now got 4 tickets on your license. The reinstatement is not that big of a deal. Some states don't even count it or care about it, so don't worry about that part. But the license suspension is a major violation. Driving without insurance is a major violation. The not having prior insurance isn't a violation, but it is a huge, huge discount on insurance. If it's not the most cost-saving thing on insurance, it's in the top 3. The difference between having insurance and not having insurance, if you're not more than 6 months, is still a deal. So if you have insurance today, and you've only been with the company, you just bought a car last week, you've only had a week of the insurance, and you find another company to go to, you will get a better discount because even though you've been with them for a week, you'll still have prior insurance. So that will still lower the risk of that company. If you don't have insurance, get the first thing you can find. If it's affordable, get it. And then spend your time shopping around, because now you at least, 1, you're not going to lose your license if you haven't already, but 2, you're able to drive. And 3, when you're calling these companies, you can confidently say, I have insurance, I've only had it for about a week. They'll know, okay, we're not going to give you that 6-month discount, but we will give you a discount because you've taken the steps. You're being responsible, and you're taking that next step to get your insurance. If you can't afford it or you're not going to drive, there are several steps you have to take. 1, you have to call the DMV, make sure that they haven't suspended your license. That's always a positive. 2, you need to take the plate off of the car, the license plate, take it off the car and return it to the state. Or you need to take off the tags, so your tags and your registration. You need to call the DMV and let them know that you need to turn in or cancel those 2 things. If you don't, and they get notified that there's no insurance, whether you knew it or not, they're going to suspend your license in most states. The negative to that is if you think you're going to drive soon, you're going to have to repay to get your registration and all that back. So those few $100s that you would normally pay to get that all, you're going to have to pay that again to get that back. It might make more sense to keep a basic policy than it is to turn everything in for a month or so. Most people say, oh, I'll just cancel my insurance, I'll start it back up. Don't do that if you're going to buy another car, because it's going to cost you money. You'll lose that 6 months of insurance. You go 1 day without insurance, it's it. It's not lenient. They can't just turn around and switch it. The only company that can save you at that point is the one company that you were with, if they're willing to reinstate that policy. Typically, companies don't reinstate the policy within a 1 to 3 week period. So if you do have a lapse and you're within 3 weeks, most of the time they'll let you reinstate it and pretend like it never happened. What's the next step when you don't have insurance? First thing is call companies. If your license is suspended and you don't have prior insurance, you're going to want to just lean towards the high-risk insurance companies. There's several companies that you can go to. Progressive, the General, or they call it Direct General. There's some Penguin company, I don't know what it is. I saw it online the other day that was a high-risk insurance. Foremost, that's a very big high risk. They're actually surprisingly really well priced when you have suspended licenses or if you have no prior insurance. That's actually a pretty decent company. Expect to pay more than what you were paying before because you don't have that prior insurance. Once you hit that 6 month period, call back to the other companies. Call the one you were with because they gave you the good price already, but call 3 different companies and requote it on that 6 month renewal. You should get a way better rate than normal. Quick tips on how to avoid future lapses. Make sure you know when your policy expires. So when it says January 5th of 2018, that means on January 4th, at 11:59, once it hits 12:01 a.m. on the 5th, so midnight, the insurance is ended. Granted, they'll give you leeway if you forget or something like that. Most companies will do that unless they take that time to review your account, which they usually do when you have a lapse and they have a reinstatement. Some companies will only let you do, I believe it's 1 or 2 reinstatements before in a 3-year period before they'll actually turn you down completely. Go on an auto pay. If you know you have the funds in the account, if you're doing a monthly payment, just make sure you do that. One little tip is you can take your cell phone, set a reminder on the day or a couple days before that policy is due. So if you're going to pay the whole 6 months or the whole year in front, maybe make a note there and send a reminder for that time to remind you to call your insurance to make sure that the payment's made. So guys, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. Tell me what your thoughts are. If you know about a different rule or guideline, or if you've paid these fees, let us know how much you ended up paying, because I want to see the differences that some people have done. What are some of the things that you've done to prevent your insurance from lapsing? And what are some of the things that you have done if you found out your insurance lapsed?